Oh, hey guys, how you doing? I don't think the music ducked. Hello! Happy Boxing Day to you. Hello to people in the chat. I see, M is in there, Pris is in there, the Raddest Scorpion. Hello, you guys. Thank you for joining me on this. I don't know what the German holiday is. In Britain, it's Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. And I love having the day after Christmas off because it's hard to jump right back into a work week right after Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I enjoy the European, at least in the British and German practices of providing multiple days of vacation around that holiday. So hello guys, welcome. I hope you guys had a lovely evening. Lovely, if you celebrated or observed or just enjoyed Christmas, I hope you had a nice one. If you didn't, I just hope you had a nice evening anyway. As someone who doesn't celebrate Christmas or observe Christmas, I know I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I had a very lovely, relaxing evening. After being approaching 50 now, I'm a couple years off, but I'm close enough. I really appreciate not having to travel for the holidays and not having to go anywhere and not having to. I mean, I love a family and I like meeting people, but at some point, the small talk is just I find it tiring. Anyway, I'm testing out my mic. It seems a little bit loud. I'm going to see if I can back off this a bit. I noticed yesterday, I was like all up in this. I was really close to the mic. You guys could hear every breath, every time I swallowed. And if you like ASMR or ASMR, I've heard it both ways, then that last episode was probably for you. But for me, I was like, oh, Kristi, back up off that mic. So I've been playing around with the settings for the audio, and I'm trying to find this happy balance of crossing the green and yellow line, you guys know from audio, without clipping, so not hitting the red, but then also having enough noise suppression that my street noise doesn't come in and interfere. So all of that is walking a balance like this. You know, boosh this, turn that down. You visited a few friends on Christmas Eve and had big talk instead of small talk. That actually sounds gratifying. Because it is that kind of like, so what have you been doing? How's work? Where'd you go on vacation this year? Where are you going to go on vacation next year? You want to hear where I'm going to go on vacation? Like, bah! I just can't have that conversation over and over. So a really, meaty, interesting discussion over the holidays would be lovely. Oh, by the way, I can pop up here. Should I? I was trying to decide whether or not to bring in the chat here in the window, but I'm not going to. I want to kind of get onto some of the content, and then I can put the chat in the window in a more focused way toward the end of the show. Announcement! New thing happening. By the way, guys, how is the audio? Can you give me a little bit of feedback? Does it sound like I'm breathing down your neck? Like I'm whispering into your ear? I'm trying to not. I'm trying to sound like somehow intimate enough, like we're having a personal conversation, but not like I'm right here in your face, like right there in your ear, trying to find that Goldilocks happy middle. Audio is fine. Thank you so much, Knox the cat. Appreciate it. I had thought about doing a longer show today, but my ever trusty and very sweary happy hour co-host Kevin wrote me, and I told you guys that we make these things spontaneously to plan them. He wrote me this morning, or late last night, I think it was this morning, going, hey, you want to bump up the show one day? So, announcement, guys. You're here. They're probably the first people in the world to know that there will be a happy hour tonight on Kevin's channel, starring me and Kevin, because we host the happy hour, so we kind of have to be there. There's no guest planned. I think we're going to discuss all of the Jordan Peterson nonsense I brought up a little bit yesterday, expand on the Sam Harris nonsense, because, as I said yesterday, he was crying, I guess, or whining that he'd been misunderstood. I want to take a look at what he actually wrote in response to people calling him out for standing next to bigots and white supremacists and choosing that as his location of his free speech warriorship, and whatever else comes to mind. Therefore, go over to Kevin's channel. He'll be setting it up in the next couple hours. You can set up a reminder there, and you can join us live at the usual time, which is 9 p.m. my time, 8 p.m. his time, and whatever o'clock it is where you are. I don't have so much planned today, but I wanted to do something a little bit in the holiday spirit, but a little bit outside of the usual holiday things as well. And I found us something that I think will work. Do you guys remember Dax, the rapper that I mentioned in the video a couple weeks back now, I guess? We also looked at his response more closely, the Killshot remake, where he was sort of showing off his lyrical ability. He put out a video called Dear Black Santa. I've seen people reacting to it. I've not seen it. The lyrics are underneath it, so we can break down the accurate lyrics as opposed to like me attempting to understand what his lyrics are. Yay! I always appreciate the not pressure of having to decipher lyrics on the spot. So I thought we could do a little holiday, see what Dax had to say in terms of his Black Santa video. I'm kind of curious. I'll do a reaction to that. And then I thought I'd talk a little bit about and maybe I'll do a year wrap-up video. I haven't planned anything, but I wanted to look back at where we are in the Trump presidency. As an American, as a patriot, I'm not a nationalist, I'm a patriot. I think our country has some good ideas that are worth fighting for and improving on, and that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard, as well as encouraging other people to embody the kinds of values that we find successful. But in terms of the institutions of government and our democracy, we're in the ICU right now. We are having a crisis of democracy, and I feel like I should talk about that. So I'm going to do that. But first, let's promote some more interesting and upcoming hip-hop artists. What's available here on YouTube that you can check out? New people with creative ideas. Let's go ahead and check out Dax. Now I'm going to make me really small. Also, the other guys too. The other guys. Are you guys in the chat? I'm also setting up my computer such that I can see the chat the whole time. So now I can see that 255AD said, is some Sam Harris conversation, is some Sam Harris actually conservative? It's okay, it's a misspelling, don't worry, don't retract it. Or is he just obsessed with steel manning terrible people? I think that part of the problem of labeling someone as conservative or liberal, not that I'm telling you not to, but that it also comes with a prepackaged set of ideas. And I think that it's quite possible to hold very, what would maybe people consider progressive views on some issues, but very reactionary views on other issues. People are a walking contradiction. It's possible for Sam to be quite liberal in terms of like the idea of keeping government off of people's backs and letting people pursue their own stuff in that sense, but still hold some pretty reactionary views. RM says, I think some of his principles happen to be in the intersection of the Venn diagram from what I see, and other people use that as a tool to legitimize idiotic views. For example, just Sargon somehow being in the spotlight, a spotlight he most certainly doesn't deserve. It's kind of like when SoundCloud rappers get mentioned by record label rappers. Thank you, RM. Well put. Yes, the other thing I'm mucking about with is my lighting. So I'm doing all these technical things. I'm just feeding back to explain. So I spend a lot of time mucking about with my mic, trying to get that right. Then I am now also moving on to trying to light it properly. So I've got 2 light sources that are off to the side and up so that the light comes sort of more on the side and it doesn't catch my glasses. See, I think about you guys. I think about you so much when I'm doing this. Also, I don't want to see myself looking dorky. And yesterday, my hair, this is why I don't like being on camera. So this side was fine. I kept futzing with this side. But I had like a curl that had gone like all puffy on that side. And it looked really stupid. Oh well, I get to yell at Jordan Peterson with dumb hair. And it's not like I would rather yell at Jordan Peterson and say smart things with a dumb looking piece of, like part of my hair than to say the dumb things he says with perfect hair. So, if I had to choose. All right. Hey, Sophia, happy Boxing Day. Back. I'm going to go ahead and hit play now. I have no idea, one, how loud this is. I have no idea if there's any swearing in. I don't know nothing about nothing. So we're all going to experience this together. You guys ready? Let's see what Dax has in store for us. And if I have to do the audio on the fly, I will. So if it starts off too loud or too softly, just give me a few seconds. Too loud. Can I just say how much I love jazz takes on Christmas music? I really, really do. There was somebody who put up a jazz version of Silent Night. It wasn't the best. I mean, the person was kind of an amateur, but you could definitely tell that they were very practiced and that they had a thing they were trying to express. And what I like about the way that sometimes jazz renditions go is you get glimmers of the song, but it's a completely different song. It's not like just a remake of the original song. It's a reinvention using the lyrical motifs that are used in the song, but going in really new and interesting ways. And so again, jazz, I mean, it's another spontaneous, impromptu, creative, musical art form that's come out of the Black community. Right? It's like so much of our culture we owe to African Americans, 21st century culture. We need to honor that and give respect. Who's calling Dax on his phone?
Hey, Santa, it's Dax again.
Hi.
Just checking if you got my list.
Hello?
Dear Mr. Santa,
Hello?
My name is Dax and I've been a good kid.
You guys hear that all right? It sounds kind of soft in my ear, so I'm looking on the audio. It looks fine for you guys, but I'm going to turn. You can see me bumping up my audio inside because I don't want to turn it up for you and it's fine and it's not for me. So, all right, continuing on. Because you guys know I have to stop every once in a while for the for fair use, right? Okay, so here we go.
I made a list of the shit that I wanted this year. Did you read it? I'm hoping you did. I put my country, my state, my street, my chimney, just so you know where I live. Stop watching porn. Gave to the homeless. Like, damn, dude, don't be a bitch.
Right. So this is I like the quick flow. It's very light and trippy, and it's very much almost a verbal mirroring of the ballet steps in the Nutcracker Suite. Do you guys remember? If you can always picture, is this the sugared plum dance? And they're very nimbly on the stage, and he's also very nimbly with his words rapping. So let's continue.
Yeah, I want a Cadillac color matte black. Yeah, I want a thick bitch with a fat ass. Yeah, I want a crib to crash with a pool and a court and a golf course all in the back. Yeah, I want Gucci, Prada, couple with $1 million. Instagram a million followers. Take out food from Benny Hanna, please. I need a follow back from Lily Pons. I need a Drake feature on a song. I could probably do this shit myself and all, but I ain't really trying to wait that long.
Wow, okay, this is fun. Should we look down a little bit at the lyrics? See where we're going here. I think I know about as far as where we've gotten. And they read, Dear Mr. Santa, my name is Dax, and I've been a good kid. I made a list of all the shit that I wanted this year. Did you read it? I'm hoping you did. I put my country, my state, my street, my chimney, just so you know where I live. Just yes, I love this part. I really am a fan of quick, nimble rapping. I've stopped watching porn and gave to the homeless. So damn, dude, don't be a bitch. I did my bit, you do yours. And he's going through, all right, so it's kind of so far, it's a little bit like Santa Baby. And not Santa, not It's Cold Outside, Baby, It's Cold Outside, but Santa Baby, stick a stable under the tree. That kind of thing. So, a lot of fun. All right, let's get back to the song.
So Santa, this is my list and I'm confident in you that you will complete it. Me and your daughter are friends, and if I don't get all of my shit, I'm on Mike Jackson beat it. Dear Mr. Dax, I took the time to go over your list, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to say you have been a bad kid.
Oh, that's good. All right, so now he's in a dialogue with Santa Claus. This is very original, unusual. So Dax is given here. Here's I've been a good boy, right? And here's all the stuff I need. And now Santa's gonna be writing back. Let's see if Dax was as good as he says he was.
Get you some shit, but not all those goddamn gifts. And as for my daughter, young man, there ain't no way you're fucking that bitch. Man, fuck you, Santa. I don't even want your gifts. I don't even want that car. I don't even want that bitch.
He's getting in a fight with Santa Claus. What? Dax, you sure you want to cross that line? I mean, this is a long-term commitment if you're going to piss off Santa Claus.
even want that shit now. I want Miss Claus. Want her saying ho, 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 while she's on my pole, 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 pole. Keep my wrist froze while I play games with Rudolph. Yeah, I'm crazy. Santa gave her the dick banana. Came through with the heat.
Dax is so talented. He's got such a lovely singing voice as well. When he moves into like this sort of more chorusy stuff, I'm thinking in particular of the thing he did with Crypt and Deji and Jalo, where he's got that bit where he's like 40 stacks, 40 stacks, 40 stacks, and it just, I don't even know what it means in the song, but it sounds so good, and I do love it. I love it when he switches up from his beat, it's like his flow, into more of a singing thing, because his voice is gorgeous.
The jammers, butt cheeks, droop the sheets, pajamas. So, what does that mean? I think it means that I win either way. I'll leave you cookies and milk and a note on the table, and here's what that shit's gonna say. Make sure you clean up the motherfucking chimney. I want it spotless. Make sure you turn off the lights when you're done.
Hey, he's really giving Santa a to-do list.
Make sure you leave me a tip on the table. That's right for me. Don't eat 2 cookies, your fat ass gets 1.
I've never heard anyone pick a beef with Santa Claus. Yes, weight shaming. Well, he does eat a lot of cookies. He has left a lot of cookies in the night. So no, that surprised me. That was a very good punchline. I enjoyed that.
Don't forget to leave shit in my stocking, you know where it's at. Milk chocolate, some Henny and condoms with that. Xanax, weed to sell in the trap. Don't lie, Santa boy, I know that you black. Passion, dancer, prancer, and Vixen, common. Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. Talk shit, hey, all go missing. Santa, niggas, Harris, Prison.
Right, gets reindeer in there as well. This is really, really clever. Yeah, I really like what he's done here. So we'll wrap it up and look down more at the lyrics afterwards. So we'll just go there. Finish it up. I think we've got, about 30 seconds left. So. Dax. Sorry, I'm not tearing up because it's such a beautiful video. I'm crying. That's not it. I put on my makeup and then my eyes start to water. Perfect timing. Right, so let's have a look at some of these lyrics here. You guys can probably see them a bit. So we already did, he wants a Cadillac and a woman with a big booty and a place to crash and all that kind of stuff. And and then he gets in a fight with Santa and he's like, Santa, I don't even want your gifts anymore. I don't want your car. I don't want the woman. I don't want your stuff. But now I want your wife. It's like, seriously, it's like rap battle. Now doing a rap battle with Santa Claus. Yeah, and give him an order list. So that's it. Don't forget to leave the shirt. Oh, in the shit in my stockings, you know where it's at. Milk, chocolate, some Henny, and condoms with that. Xanax weed to sell in the trap. Don't lie, Santa. Boy, I know that you're black. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Dundee. I must be Donner. Dundee is a place in Scotland. Blixen, talk that shit, they all go missing. Santa, my guy. It's Merry Christmas. Right, that was funny. It's a new take on the Christmas Carol, which is to like be all up in Santa's face. Nicely done, Dax. I enjoyed that a lot. All right, so let's see what we've got. I'm gonna maybe make this a bit smaller and swap over. Oh, this one. Nope, this one. Hey guys, there I am. All right, so yeah, Dax, go check him out. He's really good. He's it's like one of the YouTube rappers that people go, who would actually give like respect to YouTube rappers, because there's a lot of like, oh, you're just a YouTube rapper, you're not a real rapper. And yeah, the fact is that there's some really talented people on here who are making their own music and producing their own videos, directing and coming up with those kinds of ideas, and a lot of creativity that I think deserves a bit more respect. So yeah, shout out to Dax. And also, I know that Screwface Gene has a video he put up yesterday because Eminem announced on Shade 45, his radio station in Detroit, he was going to put like the 12 days of Dismas, and he was going to put up his 12 favorite diss tracks. And it wasn't quite clear if that was other people's tracks or his tracks or whatever. But yeah, I'm sure those reactions, if people can get a hold of the audio and claim fair use, you might see those as well. All right. Now, all right. So from that kind of cheery holiday Yay! Soft, cuddly, a little bit of swear words maybe, but not worse than that. We're gonna swap over and talk a bit about my take on where we are in American democracy, because it's a topic that kind of indirectly comes up, but I haven't done a show on Trump for a while, probably since the election, really. And part of the problem with doing anything on Trump is that it's literally there's so much overwhelming stuff. He's got 17 investigations into him, active investigations right now. There's the Mueller so I mean, if you look at it individually, but if you look at the overall categories, every facet of his life that he is involved with, politics or business, is under investigation. His foundation just had to shut, and even his daughter are gonna be, or the kids are gonna be agreeing to not be on charitable boards in New York State for 3 years and pay back fines. His campaign is under investigation. His transition is under investigation. His administration is under investigation. Everything, from start to finish. And we've often heard Republicans tout the idea that the government should be run like a business, which I think is one of the stupidest things that is commonly repeated in American politics. Because how can you possibly run something that's designed to be not-for-profit with a framework of a profit motivation? This is the same problem we see at universities. When business people come in and they see a university, they don't see a public good. They see a way to produce a product, and that product, in their minds, I'm going to go based on what comments of other people have said in the past in terms of what some chancellors, vice chancellors, whatever, come in wanting to do, is to create workers. So they want to shape universities, which are meant to be places where people learn how to think, and a specialty and some critical thought skills and writing skills and basic knowledge. A liberal arts degree in the United States, at least, is meant to expose you to every single facet, the humanities, the social sciences, the natural sciences, and the arts, so that you become the seeds of a more well-rounded person. But they want to streamline that into, does it make us money? Can we get grants based on this? Can we marketize this? Can we, pair up with a corporation? And not a lot of corporations are interested in gender studies, but that doesn't mean the effect of gender on our society isn't important as a source of knowledge of how we structure our societies. Certainly it's not as monetizable as, say, a focus group skill that you learn in the social sciences, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has less value because it isn't as profitable. When you put business frameworks onto an institution, you have to critically examine the degree to which those market forces actually map onto your values. Now, I'm not saying anything particularly profound here. There's a really good BBC lecture series given by a guy named Michael something. It was like some sort of annual, somebody's annual lecture on something, and this was 10 years ago maybe. He gave a lecture on the problem of sneaking capitalist values in with these kinds of business frameworks. When you bring in a business model to, let's say, a university to marketize it or to construct it, yes, you might be getting efficiencies and optimizations and a reduction in the repetitive work that's done, right? Because one thing capitalism does do is it streamlines costs because there's a reason for it. But if you turn students from people into products, and university lecturers stop being researchers and they start being widget makers, and the widgets are students with a particular set of skills to go out and get a job, you're basically turning all universities into technical colleges. And there's no problem with being a technical college. That's why we have technical colleges. But this attempt to strip out the humanities and the arts and the social sciences that aren't marketable is an attack on our intellectual dignity as human beings. Anyway, how did I get on this topic? I think it has to do with how evil Republicans are. And it is bringing Trump into the White House, I think, has been the best example of why we can't treat government like a business. Government isn't a business. It's a non-profit organization. Government is meant to provide a service and keep enough money in reserve for emergencies, to borrow money to do large-scale projects that otherwise would be impossible to do, like roads and bridges, with a scheduled payment system to pay it back, over time, over perhaps decades and stuff, more than an individual human could be, as a basis for running economy and travel and everything else. And so when you bring in market forces, the first thing they seem to want to do, when Republicans just generally want to do, is eliminate all of the spending on real people. Right? Because this is, again, a capitalist framework. You see your workers not as real human beings who you want to necessarily thrive. I mean, capitalism doesn't set you up for this. You see them as a cost on your balance sheet. So we see routinely how Republicans bring in their business mentality to government by going after pensions, by going after union rights and collective bargaining, by going after raises and cost of living increases, anything that would actually allow people a stable income is a threat or a cost or a wasteful spending to them. And what they do instead, what's their solution? They hire one of their rich friends, like let's say private prisons, right? They hire somebody who's a rich friend, contract them to provide what should be a public service, where people would get a decent wage and feed into the state pension system, have healthcare protection, have time off of work, have workers' compensation, have a union to defend their rights in case they're wrongly terminated or have management problems. And instead they farm it off to people who will hire prison guards on contracts from temp agencies at just above minimum wage. But what do they do with all that extra money? The money that used to go to the workers and pay into the pension and cover those costs, what do they do with those private companies now that they've created these optimizations and efficiencies and worker costs? They just put it in their pocket. So taxpayers are basically getting less value for money, even though it looks cheaper in the short term. And this is why we have to fight the capitalist notions in our government, not just in our economy. I mean, everyone does the critique of corporations and how the economy works, but we also, I don't hear as much, and I think we should, a critique of why capitalism is a completely inappropriate framework for governance, or for thinking about governance, and that we have to understand that government is actually, in a lot of ways, the antagonist to capitalism. Therefore, if you get in bed with your antagonist, then there's no opposition to capitalism. And Republicans, clearly in America, want to have an oligarchy where they change the rules, they gerrymander, they cheat in elections, they make it harder for people to vote, to destroy actual representation that it goes against business interests, and instead they seize the democratic structures of power without, I'm thinking now of Wisconsin, without legitimacy, and attempt to impose their capitalist agenda and strip all government of it's people's trust in it, and also any of the good that it does. So I keep having to ask myself, are Republicans evil? And probably not all of them, but there are enough anti-democratic, oligarchic, corporate Republican types who have sold out any sense of preserving democratic legitimacy in exchange for political power, and those people are, in my opinion, a direct threat to the stability of our country. So Scott Walker, the Republicans in Wisconsin, Robin Vos, is it still stupid Fitzgerald dude who's running in the Senate? They are actually, I don't personally see the Democratic legislative body as having any democratic legitimacy. I don't think the governor should honor anything that comes out of that body because it's completely illegitimate in terms of how the power was distributed. 50 plus, 60% of people voted for Democrats, and yet they have a majority, I think a supermajority in one of the houses. And Trump is a symbol of this. He is the same sort of no regard for the power of good that government can do, no interest in actually using what government is meant to be doing, or has the power to do, to improve the lives of all citizens rather than a few citizens. And so Trump is, to me, the embodiment of why we should never have businessmen running government. They're not qualified. They don't understand it. They don't have the right value system. They don't value human beings the same way as people who go into public service for the sake of it. Because we can see from Mitt Romney and his behaviors, the way that he used venture capitalism to financially destroy people's lives. We see this with Trump all the time. He doesn't care about the effects. He will eliminate an federal employee raise with people who are making 1% of, what his worth is, less than that. And he'll cut the assigned raise for federal employees and then go golfing in Mar-a-Lago. How do you just not want to burn him in effigy at that point? Or this, did you see this? I mean, this isn't even on a presidential level. It's just on a human being. What is wrong with you kind of level? Trump asked a kid who was 7 if she still believed in Santa Claus. The man is a moron. And here's another question related to this. How did he manage to run a business? Seriously, it doesn't require you have to be apparently that smart to make a lot of money if you already have a lot of money. So why do we give respect to rich people again? I mean, I don't clearly, but there's a lot of fanboying and fangirling of Trump over the fact that he had a lot of money. But we've seen his governance style now. We've seen his management style. It seems his management style is get people in who are spineless and have no ability to stand up to him because he has all the power, and he will punish anyone who, stands up to him, or undermine them and then fire them, have them fired later. But he has literally no ability to negotiate deals. He has no ability to make a strategic plan. He has no ability to assess intelligence information. It seems that Trump is much happier taking the word of Putin or Erdogan as if they were like a corporate business person with inside knowledge, rather than rely on U.S. military advisors who've taken an oath to protect the Constitution. You know why? Because business people don't have patriotic loyalty. You think Facebook swears allegiance to America? Facebook is an international global company. They don't have a patriotic loyalty. They have fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. And as Google and Yahoo and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, none of these countries are none of these companies are American. They're global. And we have a big mistake if we think that there is any kind of sense of loyalty from people whose only loyalty is obviously to money. So where does this where do we sit on the edge of between 2018 and 2019? In my opinion, the presidency is in a crisis, and it's strange because you don't realize while you're in the crisis what the inflection points are. Literally every week or every other week, I hear analysts saying, it's never been a week like this in the Trump administration, or we've had a lot of rocky times, but this is most certainly, like the worst it's been. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Stupid Donald Trump. I think his we don't realize it yet, but he's already had a terminal diagnosis to his presidency. So that's going to come in a couple forms. One is he didn't prioritize building a wall. He does what I think he probably always does. He barked orders at people and then expected it to be done without him having to lift a finger or do any work. And then when it happened, he was going to take all the credit. I think that's how he's lived his life. He's ordered things, watched other people do the work, and then taken the credit for it, which he didn't deserve. Yeah, honestly, I see that with a lot of incompetent people at the top. And I don't want to just say it's white guys, because I'm sure in other countries where the populations are different, who's ever in top and incompetent is reflective of that population. But in America, there's a lot of incompetent people. There's a lot of incompetent white men who think they know more than they do, and who have an oversized sense of their own ability. And Donald Trump is the poster child for is what we call the Dunning-Kruger effect. Trump is the Mueller investigation has exposed that his presidency was not legitimately won. He is a product of Russian interference in the state. The other thing that we can tell from his presidency is that he has not upheld his oath to the Constitution. He is not. He doesn't even. I don't even think he understands what his oath to the Constitution entails because of his narcissism, and so he is acting in ways that are only make sense if you look at it through a lens of Trump Corporation profitability. Hey there, Kevin Logan, and Merry Boxing Day to Brendan, too. How you guys doing? Yeah, so Trump is a complete disaster. He's anti-democratic. He really sees, and his advisors, too, Mnuchin and Zanicki, is that it? I mean, how many people have been thrown out for corrupt practices now? And all of this wears down people's faith in in democratic institutions. And people blame the government as if the government is a problem rather than the people who are running the government. Because you can have good governance if you have people who are committed to public service and the idea that the government can do good and should be doing good. That's the purpose of redistributing taxes. It's to provide for the prosperity of the nation, not just the few. Right. He's got cases into his foundation that are going to end up costing him money. He's guilty. His campaign staff before the election are pleading guilty and were corrupt. His transition team, we're learning more, were completely corrupt. And now we're learning more and more about the corruption once he got into the White House with his obstruction of justice and witness tampering. And the Republicans are entirely complicit. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, I hope, go down in history as the absolute sort of Vichy government of the 21st century in terms of providing Trump cover to the point where, they're enabling his destruction of American democracy. If I could spit at Paul Ryan's feet and Mitch McConnell's feet, I'd be tempted to spit somewhere else, but I can't even, just the contempt. The contempt I have for what they've done, their complicity, and their lack of a backbone. All they wanted were tax cuts for the rich. They only had two goals: cut taxes for their wealthy friends and stack the court to protect their oligarchic control of government. And everything else can go to shit. That's all they've ever wanted. That's all they've ever worked for, and now they think they got it. And this is why, remember the quote when people came out of the Constitutional Convention and someone shouted, Mr. Franklin, to Ben Franklin, what kind of government have you given us? And he replied, I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, but it said, a republic if you can keep it. I'm wondering if we're actually reaching the end of that experiment now. People have to decide if they love the rule of law and democracy, democratic legitimacy, one person, one vote, and equal rights for all humans in our country, or do they want authoritarianism? I think that looking forward, this is the other thing too. It might be the case that Trump won't run for re-election. He is seeing the stock market tanking as a consequence, a delayed consequence of a couple things. One, we've had, almost 10 years of economic growth, and I think all of that was just the time it took to make up for what we lost in 2008 to get us back to our 2008 levels. I don't even know if we're at our 2008 levels in terms of general prosperity because of the losses in the housing market in 2008. But Wall Street is not happy with his trade policy. Trump shoots himself in the foot by attacking the Fed chair. I mean, what's the point of that? Other than the fact that he's a child who's having temper tantrums. I mean, that's pretty much why. His attack on the Fed, combined with his trade wars and the way that he is producing uncertainty in the Middle East by unilaterally and without consulting his allies or his advisors, withdrawing precipitously from Syria and Afghanistan. Even if you agree with withdrawing, the manner in which he is doing it is destabilizing, and the world markets are now reacting to the chaos he's causing. He's literally like the bull in the china shop, except the china shop is your 401k and your retirement plan, or the economic trade situation between your country and America. It is occurring to me now the scope of how dangerous the Trump election was, and how this is just such an amazing victory for Putin. He can sit back and watch Trump knock over things, all very delicate pieces of china, bricks, pieces that have gone into constructing our NATO alliance, our EU relationships, our military agreements, our shared intelligence across borders. And Trump is literally just coming in the room and pissing in everybody's face and breaking stuff. And Putin is laughing and cheering him on. If it was a fictional book, if Putin was a baddie in a movie, he'd be a great baddie. And I don't know who the superhero in this movie would be, but maybe it's going to be the American people going to come in and rescue us from ourselves. All I know is that, well, I don't want to blame our democratic process. I know we need reform in America in terms of the electoral college. I don't think I know it's an easy answer to just go, oh, majority vote. There's a reason why the founders didn't do things by popular will, and there's a really good reason to consider why we should not simply go to a simple majority vote nationwide in an election. And that's because it would be the case if we went to a simple majority that New York State, Florida, Texas, and California would basically have permanent campaign staff, and the rest of the country would never see the presidential candidate, because the presidential candidates, why would you go to Wyoming ever? Why? I mean, they don't even go to Alaska and Hawaii now, right? Because of the distance and the amount of delegates they get out of those two states. Like, was it Nixon was the last person who did like all 50 who did all 50 states or tried to do all 50 states? And it's a stupid strategy. It's a bad use of your resources. If you're thinking like a campaign and all you need is to get 50% plus one, then you go to the most populous state, you can win, and then the second most and the third most, and you go on down the line. And that means most of the country won't get a visit or get engaged with or get any kind of presidential visit or acknowledgement or campaigning. And that's not a balanced solution either. So I'm not saying that I support the Electoral College. I'm just saying don't jump into a simple majority, because there's a balance in this country for a reason. It's built into the Constitution. Part of the reason the founders created the Electoral College and created the Senate as being elected from state representatives is because they were scared of populism. They were afraid of the demagoguery that we see with Trump. Now, had the Electoral College perhaps worked the way it was originally intended, because remember, electors had more freedom in the past. States, since the initial Constitution, are binding electors to the popular vote. But if it was the case where you had some sort of elites who were absolutely horrified at the idea that Trump had won more Electoral College votes and they had independence, they could have overruled, the Electoral College distribution and said, well, based on the popular vote, we should all vote for Clinton, or a couple of them might have justified it by that way. But now it's really controlled by the parties, and the parties, of course, create loyalty down the line, and they'll only send delegates who will vote for the candidate that, they're sponsoring. So, be aware that there will always be people in our country. There will always be fascists in America. There will always be authoritarian Americans. There are always going to be Americans who would prefer a dictatorship of a strong man kind of leader over the democratic institutions we have. And I always thought, oh, that's a fringe, that's white supremacists. It's not. People talk about patriotism, but do you remember when we watched last week not last week, it was only a couple days ago, when we watched I'm Not Racist. The idea you're going to stand for that flag, my guy. I'm getting that from No Life Shack, by the way. It's my replacement word, my guy. That's their version of patriotism. It's forcing other people to do things that make them feel comfortable, right? That's patriotism. Compliance is patriotism. Subservience is patriotism. Acknowledging the superiority of and worshiping the military is their idea of patriotism. And I think because Americans have never really had to deal with fascists, we don't know what to look for. We don't know what the signs look like because we see uniforms and people marching in black and white pictures from decades ago. Not guys in, hipster glasses, sporting, interesting, nouveau beard looks and polo shirts. They speak very well, they're nice and they're polite and they make jokes. They're still dangerous authoritarians. Very colorful snakes are sometimes the deadliest. So just because someone's nice to you and polite to you, that doesn't make them instantly a good person. What's going to happen in 2019 with Trump? Do I think? I am actually now drifting toward the idea that Trump might not run for re-election. And his question is, how does he get out and still claim victory? And he's going to do that no matter what. But I honestly, if the economy starts going down the tank, he won't be able to cope. Trump is not a coper when it comes to these kinds of things. He's not someone who can deal with a crisis and create a plan. He's very shouty. And he will blame everyone else. He will claim maybe $1 billion or $3 worth of metal slats is the beautiful wall he promised. And he's going to say, hey, I created the greatest economy in history. I defeated ISIS and I built the wall. Mic drop. I'm out. Wouldn't that be nice? Because think about it, though. Think about it. If Trump diddles and daddles and dawdles, as he is wont to do, and waits until the very last minute when he realizes that maybe in the polling numbers he's losing, someone else decides to come up and sort of names are being floated, challenges, Republicans smell blood in the water, and so they start floating their names and visiting New Hampshire. And he bows out. Who do they have on deck? Like, what, Mike Pence is going to run and defend what the Trump administration did? I don't think so. I mean, it'd be easy to beat Mike Pence. Mike Pence is not Donald Trump. Mike Pence is not going to be the kind of guy who's going to go out and, just say ridiculously inflammatory things and be able to get away with it. That's a Trump thing. So if it's not Don, who is it? And that would be at least a refreshing change, as I can't wait. I don't want to hear about Donald Trump in my Twitter timeline, 7 times a day because it's on holiday. It's a holiday and he's got executive time all day long. That's my thoughts. I think it's quite possible at this point that Trump might not run for re-election. He might be setting himself up for claiming victory and then running away and leaving everybody else to clean up his mess, which is pretty much what he's done his whole life, from the looks of it. Michael Cohen was cleaning up his mess. Rudy Giuliani is cleaning up his mess. He hires people to fix the things that he's destroyed. And instead of fixing them himself, which would be a good thing to do, he goes ahead and just destroys more things. And so he never takes accountability for his actions, and he always blames someone else. There's a lot of parallels between Trump and Sargon of Karl. The biggest main difference, of course, is that Trump was born into money. But in terms of being like scheming and wily and self-centered, I see a lot of parallels. And idiocy, inarticulation, the inability to express an argument clearly, or even to not lie to your face. So Trump is a piece of shit. I think we've decided that. Be it resolved that Donald Trump is a piece of shit. All those in favor? Or do I have a second on the motion? Anybody in the chat want to second my motion that Donald Trump is a complete piece of shit? On the assumption I do get a second. Oh, I see the word second, so I'll just take that as a second. Moved and passed. Thanks, guys. Right. Now, as I said, I am going to be on with Kevin a little bit later today. So in the spirit of that, I'm not going to run a 2-hour show. I'm almost been going for an hour. Instead, I'm just going to do 1 hour. And then I'm going to appear with Kevin later on this evening. And in the meantime, I'm going to go watch some reactions to the Patreon ban and as research. I want to see, I have to rewatch Sam Harris's attempt. Look, just because I said I was standing with people who are racists and bigots, don't think I'm a racist and a bigot, even though I've had people on who are racist and bigots, and I've defended people who are racist and bigots, but don't think bad about me. Yeah, so that's going to happen. Go over to Kevin's channel and check us out live then. All right, so I'll wrap up by saying my next stage in OBS Mastery. Once I've got the audio down, I think after today's show, I'm going to check to make sure that my noise gate and stuff wasn't cutting me off. But I see Kevin is saying send me the link. Send me links, Kristi. Oh, to the Sam Harris stuff. I think I already did put one in our common chat, but if I find anything else, I will send you the link so you can watch them too. It's better than, well, I don't know what's on Unboxing Day in the UK, but it's going to be better than what I've got. You know what? All right. So I'm going to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes, I promise. My next stage on OBS Mastery is I'm going to take my mobile phone. I'm going to run a signal via Skype through my phone, and then I've got an app. Actually, it might be through the app. Connect it to OBS through an NDI connection, and because this camera here is rubbish. I bought a computer with the best internal webcam I could find, and it's still shite. Therefore, I'm going to try, I bought an app, I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm hoping I'm going to just put my phone, I'm showing you like you can't see it. I'm going to put my phone right next to where my webcam mic is, and I'm going to use this, and that way you can see me, and then in the other Skype stream, I can bring in my guest. Because if you use Skype with OBS via NDI, you can't show your webcam and their webcam. You can only have one video stream into it because of the way Windows works. It's not a OBS problem, it's a Windows problem. That way, we'll both be coming in on our own individual streams, and we can both be on camera together. I'm getting so good at this. Every time it's like when I do a DIY project and I do it successfully, because I took home ec, but I didn't take anything. I mean, we learned how to change a tire in my driver's ed course. But when my toilet, like keeps running and I got to figure out how to make it stop, or, I got to like build something, and I do it all by myself, I feel so efficacious. I feel so handy. And when I master this technology, I have the same feeling as well. So yeah, come by. Again, I've got holiday now. Well, I got work on Thursday and Friday, and then the weekend, and then we are off the 31st and the 1st, and I do want to try out that tech, so you can look for more hangouts from me, from some more original content if you don't mind listening to me babble between now and the 2nd of January. Otherwise, until then, you guys, let's see. Want to go on camera tonight? No, at nighttime, I'm tired. This is why I do a show during the day, because I get the natural light, and like yesterday, I did the thing where I said I'm going to get off the air and then I don't do it. Like yesterday, I went and I watched back, and this stupid piece of hair looks stupid the whole show. Maybe it does today too. And I just I was trying to focus on my audio, and instead all I could look at is like the stupid piece of hair I had on my face. This is why I don't like being on camera. Everything has to be perfect. Like whatever you do is caught, and there's a lot of pressure. I feel a constant monitoring of everything, all my facial expressions, everything when I'm on camera. And at night, I don't want to have to think about that. You can be on camera, Kevin. Everyone loves your beard. Everyone loves your luscious locks. So I would strongly encourage you to be on camera, because everyone loves that. All right, thanks for the hangout, Red Scorpion. Thanks for coming by. And if I'm on camera, I'm perfect. Oh, that's very sweet. But you don't have to live with the way that the shitlords take anything and turn it into a mockery of you. And so I'm a bit more hyper vigilant on that. So like red or blonde or violet. I don't know. You guys are talking about colors. I'm out of the loop. All right, go to Kevin's channel. Hit the reminder bell for our show tonight. If it's not up already, check back later. I will be with you guys at 9. I've been Kristi. You all have been awesome. Much love to you. Happy Boxing Day. Happy day after Christmas. And maybe I can talk to Kevin about a New Year's Eve stream a little bit and see if he's interested in doing that. Maybe that can be our OBS test that night. All right, guys. until next time, we'll see you later. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of the day. I'm going to stop the stream now. Bye.